Welcome back to Saturday Social, where we are joined by James Allcott and Lyes. Right, it is, of course, Joe, FA Cup weekend, and it's quite an interesting weekend, isn't it? A lot of the big clubs out. It is wide open, that competition, as are some of the other competitions as well, which gave us a little idea for this next section.
Yeah, totally. I think it's the best FA Cup weekend we've had in absolutely ages. But today it's not just going to be about the FA Cup. We're going to get our guests to pick the winner of each of the major English pieces of silverware and some European ones as well. But let's start with the FA Cup, shall we? Because we can see the FA Cup draw that we're going to watch this weekend. It's a belter. Fulham versus Palace, Brighton versus Forest, Preston versus Villa, Bournemouth versus City. I mean, if City go out here, I think the most recent winner is in like 1959 of any of the other teams.
Forest 1959, Villa 1957, Preston 1938, City 2023, and Bournemouth, Brighton, Palace and Fulham have never won it.
So this is a belting weekend. Let's have a look at who you two think is going to come out as the eventual champion of the FA Cup. You're going Villa, Jimbo, Brighton.
Like it.
So a team that's never won it before, Jimbo.
Yeah. Yeah, why not?
I think it's just as shocked as me.
I think first seems shocked to seeing who you picked there.
Do you know what? I just realised I'm nervous. There's a thing called the jinx. Basically, anyone I say is doing well, they then fall off a cliff here. So what you're hoping for, if you're a fan of any of these teams, is that like you've not been picked by me. I just think they've got loads of quality. I was really impressed with how they got through against Newcastle. Yeah. I think they've got goals in their team. I think if you have to play Man City at some point, which was part of my thinking, because obviously they're going to be the favourites, or possibly, then can you go and beat Man City? I know a lot of these teams probably have done, but I think Brighton can absolutely do that on the biggest stage.
I mean, they've stuck
I'd love
Forest
to see Wells lift it.
7 on Forest this season already. So, they've beaten big teams well.
True. I mean, Nottingham Forest the next round, who obviously they did get pumped by, but hopefully they kind of learn from that. You learn from your mistakes more than your successes.
And you've gone, is the Unai Emery factor a big part of this? I think he's won 4 domestic cup competitions, hasn't he? All the Europa Leagues he's won as well. Is that a huge part of why you've gone Villa?
1,000%. They've been very impressive in the FA Cup this year as well, too. But I just look at Villa, their cup form compared to their league form. I don't want to say they're struggling in the league, right? But it's obviously not hit the heights of last season. But they are definitely a much better cup team. And I kind of ditto everything he said about Brighton, about Villa. They are very adept going forward. They have a lot of quality in that team. I think the one worry for Villa is potentially that tie with PSG. Like, if they do progress out of that, that's obviously a big if. What would they then concentrate on? You'd have to say Champions League, which could affect this prediction. But I look at Villa, they have as huge a chance as anyone.
Stick them up.
Stick them up.
Yeah, Unai Emery, 4 domestic cups and won the Europa League 4 times.
Just realised as well, I said that Brighton beat Forest.
Forest definitely. I was losing my mind.
I was just thinking that then.
Put it behind you, don't worry. We'll move on to the Premier League.
Jim's hard enough for this one.
Don't worry about it, mate. Let's move on to the Premier League. Have a reminder of the league table. Right now, just to remind everyone, as I say, it is an FA Cup weekend, so we haven't seen Premier League action in a while. Here it is. As you can see, 12 points separates the top 2, and of course, Liverpool have that huge goal difference.
Just put it on the board,
Predictor, incidentally, has Liverpool as a 99.2% chance of winning. Is this a tap-in for you, Jimbo?
Nuno Espirito Santo's Nottingham Forest are going to be a bit disappointed as Liverpool go on to win.
Even the Jims can...
Surely the Jims
never
can't
say
get
never.
This yeah, it's done, isn't it? It's done. Well done, Liverpool.
Done for you as well, yeah.
Yeah,
it's a shame.
But no discussion at all.
What discussion is needed? They won this like 2 months ago.
Fair enough.
Good point. We should have thought of that.
Well, let's move on then. Let's go on to the Champions League, because we can have a look at the Champions League bracket now. And, it's very, very tight at this as well, isn't it? Arsenal having to travel to the Bernabeu second leg, PSG Villa, Barca Dortmund, Bayern Inter. I think this is really hard to pick a winner out of here. Let's see if there's any agreement or if there's disagreement between our two guests. Who do you think is going to win it?
Ooh, yes. 2 Spanish clubs.
So I'm pleased you've gone with Barcelona, because my sort of gut, everything, all my spidey senses say Barcelona. I think it's there for them, but my experience in this game is in the Champions League, you do not predict. One must beware Real Madrid.
Yeah.
And I just think when it comes to it, and I was listening to a Real Madrid podcast the other week, and they were talking about playing Barcelona in the final, because that's what we could have, couldn't we? We could have an El Clasico final.
We need him.
They're on opposite sides.
Yeah.
But they've been on opposite sides so many times over the last 15 years, and they never meet.
But also they've got to play each other still right at the end of the La Liga season, which is so tight. They could play each other in the Copa del Rey as well. So it's going to be interesting what happens in those games if this comes to be when it comes to the Champions League. I just think when it gets to this end of the season, the top players just go up a notch. And one thing I was looking at the stats was that the conversion rate of Real Madrid is quite poor in comparison to the other teams, specifically in La Liga. And I just think Mbappe's starting to cook a bit. Bellingham steps up in those big games. Vinicius Junior can be much better than he has been in 2025. But Barcelona, I think, have been the kryptonite this year.
Yeah, the record against Madrid's amazing this year.
Yeah.
What I would say that is a really interesting point Jimbo makes, because obviously Barcelona are the form team. Opta Predictor has them as the favourites as well. Everything about the way they're playing says Barcelona, but that's happened to so many teams that have come up against Real Madrid in the Champions League in previous years. But Real Madrid always find a way in this competition.
They always find a way. It's true. I'm not going to call James crazy for this one, right? But yeah, Barcelona this season are just an absolute joke. They're a joy to watch. And look, right, like Ballon d'Or, we'll see where that goes, right? Salah, Rafinha, Dembele, they're all having great seasons. I genuinely believe this with all my heart. The best player in the world on quality plays for these guys, and it's Lamine Yamal. This guy is unbelievable. And against Real Madrid this season, in the biggest games, in fact, every time he's played Mbappe, he's come out on top, and his performances have come out on top. I think that point that you made at the end, they're their kryptonite this season. And Real Madrid in the Champions League final, they never lose those. But maybe this is the team to do it. And yeah, the way it's going this year, it almost seems like a fairy tale season for them.
Okay, let's get them up. Stick them on. That would be some fun, wouldn't it? El Clasico final, imagine that. Let's move on to the... You're on top, Jimbo, yeah.
I tried to stick it in.
So move on to the next one. As you can see, is the Europa League, which for me is wide open. Impossible to predict a winner for this because it is such an open competition. Let's have a reminder of the bracket. Spurs play Frankfurt. I will be there. Second leg away, though, which will be tricky for Spurs. They overcame Ajax in the previous round. Man United play Lyon. Athletic Club as well play Rangers. But a glimpse of their Lazio. So again, it's quite an open competition. Man United and Spurs on opposite sides, interestingly, Joe. But we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit there, I think. Who have you gone with?
I've gone for Athletic Club.
I am also going for Athletic Club.
They're the best team in the competition, right? They're actually the one team in this competition that are a Champions League side playing in the Europa League, based on their form this season. The other guys, right, in terms of names, Spurs, United, of course. They're genuinely lucky to even they're not going to qualify for the Europa League based on their league standing. Athletic Club this season have been incredible. The finals
at their stadium.
In their backyard as well too. And you know what it is about Athletic Club as well too? I think there's a lot of pressure on Spurs and United to win this, right? United to get into Europe to save their season, Spurs to break this trophy curse. These guys are kind of playing with house money. In a way, they're not because the finals in their backyard, right? But I almost feel like they're playing with a bit more freedom. They don't have the pressure, like their season relies on this competition. And I think it'll play in their favour.
What about Lazio? Obviously, they finished top of
they're very good as well,
the Europa League standings. So they're a lot of people's
I think
as well.
I think they're fine, but Athletic Club had the same amount of points as Lazio, so it's kind of semantics when it comes to that side of it. I just think that also I don't know the overall conversation when it comes to some of the players in that Athletic Club team and if they are going to leave, but if to win the Europa League in their home stadium and players like Sunset or Inaki Williams or Nico Williams is outrageous right now as well. Sunset's been injured. Him coming back is going to be really important. He's got a lot of goals for them this year. But the way that they attack down the sides and the amount of crosses they get along the 6-yard box. The one thing I do wonder is if they end up playing Man United, although they'd be massive favourites, if Man United really defend quite deep and you're playing against a team that likes to attack wide and get across the 6-yard box, you might actually stop them a little bit.
United, but they are the games in Europe have been decent. I think they're the only unbeaten team left in the whole of European competition. And against the bigger sides in this Ruben Amorim sort of low block, low five, really hard to break them down. Like they've got results against City, Liverpool, Arsenal. It's not an easy team to do.
Just quickly, of the two English clubs left in, who do you think is more likely to get further out of Spurs and United?
I think
Man United's side seems a bit more difficult, but if it were a final between Man United and Spurs, I would put my house on United.
Would you?
Really?
It's Spurs. I'm sorry. Wow. Like for me, I don't.
Spurs about their way. We've lost
2-3 times.
Yeah, and I know it kind of contradicts what I'm saying about Barca and Real based on the form, but I don't see Man United losing a final to Spurs. I'm sorry, I don't see it happening.
Let's get Athletic Club up though, and move on to the Conference League. We can have a look at the Conference League bracket now. Obviously, Chelsea significant favourites here, I would say. But Betis and Fiorentina on the reverse side of the draw. Getting a few headlines as well. So will we have anything controversial here, or is it a tap-in for Chelsea?
Come on.
Come on.
Boys again.
Not 3 times. Not 3 times.
Runners up in the last 2 finals
I'm
of
not
the
having
Conference
it.
Leagues.
Hard-earned glory.
You know, I like
me
it.
going.
I like it.
And I want to see it. I think, look, in terms of Gudmundsson as well, Gudmundsson's a really good player. I think I've spoken about him on here. Him with Moyes again up top, scoring goals. They're a solid team. They're on the other side of the draw, so it could be that third final. So yeah, obviously they lost to Olympiacos last year, West Ham the year before. Third time. Come on, no.
They have 5 defeats in the last 8 games in all competitions, so they're not on an amazing run of form right now.
Appreciate that. They beat Juventus recently.
Yeah.
I think the thing as well, this Chelsea team, as incredible as they are in terms of like overall talent, it's not a team that's playing together all the time. It'd be interesting to see what team they put out, and whereas Fiorentina, it's going to be your best 11. And redemption up for David De Gea.
That's a good point. I can't disagree with anything. And look, Moise Kean right now at the moment is one of the form strikers in Europe. It looks like he's actually really kind of realizing his potential finally. But yeah, I look at Chelsea. They haven't even been that great this competition. Like against Copenhagen, they weren't that great, and I just think they do have enough quality in most.
It should
of
be
these
Chelsea.
games.
It absolutely should be Chelsea, but I couldn't do it.
I like that shot. Honestly, I like that shot.
Bit of difference, bit of debate. That's what we like. So we'll move on to the final 2. Next up, it is the WSL. So once again, we can have a reminder of how the table looks. As you can see, Chelsea absolutely flying. Sonia Bonpasta taking charge in her first season in charge, picking up where Emma Hayes left off. As you can see, massive 8-point swing. And, of course, they got better goal difference as well.
I mean, this is his game over for Liverpool, isn't it?
Give them a 98.8 chance of winning. Arsenal 1.1% chance, and Man United 0.1%. Chelsea just know how to win this league, don't they? Won the last 5 WSL titles. Is this an easy one for you?
Yeah, super easy. I think. They've had a weird 2 weeks where they played Man City 4 times.
Yeah.
And the only one they lost actually didn't matter in the end, because the second leg of the Champions League, they absolutely destroyed them. You know, they've got so many great players in there. You know, Millie Bright, Reece James, Ramirez up top. They're miles ahead, and are miles ahead.
Yeah, let's get them up then.
Okay.
Championship table potentially coming next, because we want to talk about the EFL a little bit, don't we? So Sheffield United did go top last night with that really good win against
Massive
top.
win, that.
Unbelievable goal by Gustavo Harmer in that one as well. But, you know, Leeds do still have the game in hand. They've got that 51 goal difference in pocket, which is absolutely ridiculous. Let's have a look at who you're both predicting. You're both going for Leeds. I presume that goal difference is a big factor in the swing as well.
Yeah, I am. I'm nervous saying it, so I can't imagine how Leeds United fans feel. I think that could play a part in this. The sort of the pressure of it for Leeds. They do need to go up. Like, you look at the market value of their 11. I was sort of checking it out. Sheffield United's is about 50-odd million something. Leeds is 90. So like this is a great team with a lot of Premier League players in it, and their run-in is pretty. It's nice enough. But, yeah, shots fired by Sheffield United last night. Chris Wilder, a bit between his teeth as well. Yeah, the nerves, I think, for Leeds is the biggest thing. They need to get Ampadu back as well. It's going to be important.
Because we have seen this. Remember last season, the title race, and there's 2 or 3 teams, and it chopped and changed. Leicester had that big point lead, then it was
Leeds really should have gone up automatically
lost on one weekend. So there is that factor to it as well. But you think, for you, Leeds should get over the line?
I think last season, honestly, I think they should have been promoted automatically. I think they fumbled it at the end. And obviously, the playoff final, anything can happen in that kind of game. I think that experience from last season, mixed with how good they have been for most of the year, plus, let's be real, if they are tied on points, that goal difference is massive. Like, that's a huge player in all of this. I think Leeds will go up and win the championship.
OK, there we go. Stick it down. I don't know if you can reach yours, Jimbo. Might have to get Lyes to give you a hand.
Cheers, mate.
There is confirmation of all of the trophy winners. Quite a bit of agreement, actually. A little bit of disagreement. Let us know what you think of those selections at home.